Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Can you guys hear me? Great. I'm still getting over the fact that there are Democrats in Preston Hollow. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to do tonight. I have questions that have been submitted by all the clubs. These are their questions, and I can tell you they're good questions. And I'll say right now, Ron, if you feel like the questions are a little tougher for you, that's just a coincidence. All right, okay. Let me introduce. We were going to have opening statements, but I'm going to make a decision and cut the opening statements if you guys don't mind. I will introduce the candidates, though. You guys know they're famous now. They've had about 200 debates and forums. But on the end there, former Dallas Police Chief David Kunkel, next to Chief Kunkel, Councilmember Ron Tinsky. Dallas businessman Edward Opa. And former Park Board Chairman Mike Rollins. Okay, we do not have an official timekeeper. And against my better judgment, I'm going to trust you guys to keep it moving. I'm going to try to help you keep it moving. And pretend like there's sort of a 2 or 3 minute limit on your answers. These questions are directed specifically to each of you. So don't feel like you have to answer Kunkel's question or that. Now, there may be questions about the budget or something like that you feel like chiming in on. Feel free to do that, but keep in mind that the clubs here were specific in their questions and directed them to you guys specifically, okay? I'm going to start with Chief Kunkel, all right? You say on your website, Chief, that too many budget decisions have been based on the history and tradition of, sacred cows, things like that, and that we need to think the way we prepare our budget. Can you tell us which decisions and traditions and which sacred cows are you talking about, and provide specifics on how would you change how the budget is calculated?
What I was trying to say on my website is that the basic theory behind the most recent city budgets is that we're just in a temporary bad economy, and within a year or two things are going to get better. So all we need to do is tighten our belt, get through a year or two, and then everything can go back to normal. My view is where the city's at financially is that we're going to have, this is going to be our third bad budget year with cuts $100 million or more, I believe. And the next couple years after this are also going to be bad. I think what the City Council should do is determine what's most important for the City of Dallas to get done, invest in those type of activities, and things that are less important, we either quit doing, privatize, or find some other way to get it done. And this troubles me a lot because I'm a guy that does come from government, and I do believe that the City of Dallas, that our primary purpose should be to make the lives of the people who live in this community better. But I believe that the City Council should exercise its policy-making role, set what services, activities are most important, rather than have the whole city budget cut with across-the-board cuts. When I talk about sacred cows, I believe even within the police and fire budgets that they ought to have to justify their program areas, how they're spending money, and that no city activity can avoid getting scrutiny during a bad budget time.
Okay. Ron, there's a specific question for you. At a time of budget difficulties a few years ago, it points out in 2007, you pushed to install a large flat screen TV, well, TVs actually all over City Hall, so people passing by could watch the council meetings, etc. The TVs cost over $50,000. Was that a good use of city funds?
You know, that was a couple of years after we started an international program to try to bring business to the city of Dallas. And when you've got international visitors coming to City Hall, if you compare the treatment that they present to visitors when you go to see them versus what they got in the city of Dallas, we were deficient. And we had to make their reception at the city of Dallas far more warm and welcoming than we had been doing. That's paid off. We moved over 50 international companies to the city of Dallas. We've created over 6,000 jobs in the city as a result of it. They built offices here, they built warehouses, they built assembly facilities in the city. So I think the investment that we spent in that, so that when they come to City Hall, they feel like this is a city that is reaching out to them and really wants them to move their businesses here. The same applies to visitors to the city. We get an awful lot of international visitors that come to the city of Dallas. We're the 9th largest city in the United States, and the welcoming map that we'd had before was pretty drab. You would not find it in even some of the smaller cities around the United States. At that particular time, that was part of a renovation we did to remodel some of the various elements of City Hall, and I believe it was a good investment at the time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Opa, deficit cushioning. What did you mean by that? In an interview with the Morning News, you talked about a deficit cushioning measure that would be used to fund budget shortfalls. What did you mean?
Thank you, Jeffers. What I mean by cushioning is our budget is $2.8 billion. If we make the effort and save 1% of $2.8 billion, that's $28 million. If we were to put that money in a sinking fund is an annuity, money put aside to grow at a certain safe rate. You're not going to gamble with it on the Wall Street Journal. You're not going to gamble with it, but at a safe rate. And if we do that consistently for 5 years, we will accrue in a cushioning measure $120 million. And then what we'll do is each time we run into a budget issue, we could withdraw money from that account. That's what I mean by cushioning. Every family does that. You have some savings because you don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. So you save what you can, and it's called a sinking fund formula. Again, if you do 0.5% of $2.8 billion, that's $14 million. So we have to get to what is comfortable we can set aside and then use that to cushion any deficit we're going to have. Because our growth is no longer predictable, because our economy is in a structural shock. So we have to look at money to work for us. That's what I meant. Thank you.
Okay. And there's a follow-up. Would you support a tax increase similar to the one the council approved last year that came up again in future budget cycles?
Again, I will not support any increase because the attitude to money is what is more important than money itself. Even if you increase additional revenue, but you have not addressed the issue, how you spend the money, it's not going to have any impact. So we have to go back and address that issue, and then any additional revenue we're going to get from either increase or our economy growing will have more beneficial impact on our spending, as opposed to having an additional tax increase. However, you have not addressed some of those load factor, redundancy, and waste that are built inside the budget.